Morbius was directed by Daniel Espinosa and stars Jared Leto, Matt Smith, Adria Arjona, Al Madrigal, Tyrese Gibson, and Jared Harris. In this movie, we follow Dr. Michael Morbius, played by Leto, who is trying to find a cure to a disease he's had his entire life, and which essentially leads him to an experiment which combines bat DNA with human DNA. However, this comes with some side effects because he then turns into a vampire-like creature, and a trail of bodies is left in his wake. This is a movie that was supposed to come out a long time ago. It was originally supposed to be in 2020, but then due to COVID, it got pushed back a lot. And then it was supposed to come out in January this year. But Spider-Man No Way Home was making so much money, so Sony didn't want this to eat into those profits, and so it got delayed to April 1st. And it had become sort of a joke at this point that this movie maybe didn't even exist because of the amount of pushbacks that it got. So when I was in the theater today, and I watched this with a friend of mine, and if she sees this review, hello, I remember thinking, what if they just delay it again as we're sitting there? They just say, oh, actually, it's going to come out in July now. I wouldn't have been surprised, and frankly, I don't think I would have minded. One of the things I try to do on this channel is trying to look for positives in everything. I try to be as fair as possible and as rational as possible, but Morbius has me stumped, because I genuinely have no idea what I can say about this movie that's super positive. Even the positives that I do have come with somewhat of like a caveat. For instance, I think Leto is fine in the movie. I think he's doing okay as the character. However, he's doing the best that he can with the material that he's provided, which is really not that much. He's having to work with a very paper-thin script and some very sloppy direction, unfortunately. And it breaks my heart to say those things. And Matt Smith in this movie is having a great time. He's just hamming it up as this character he's playing. But again, it's just him trying to do the best he can with what's there. Which again, it doesn't really add up to much. Which makes this movie overall seem like a film that was just very sloppily put together. You will find that the word sloppy comes up quite a bit in this review because there's really no other way to describe Morbius. It was a very, very messy experience. Now, granted, if you walk out of this movie satisfied with what you saw and you thought, hey, that was a fun time, I'll gladly go see that again. More power to you. I fully expect some people to walk out of this movie very happy with what they saw, totally disagreeing with this review. And to that, I'm glad. I hope people see this movie and some of them do enjoy it. I don't think it worked for me at all, though. Let's talk about the storytelling, which I found to be extremely muddled, in part also due to some of the most choppy editing I've seen in a movie in a while, especially something like a superhero blockbuster. It feels like certain chunks of the movie are missing. Like crucial bits of information. There are some things that just jump back and forth. We make massive strides in terms of these characters, and it just feels so abrupt at times. Like there's one point in particular where there's this interaction that happens between two characters, and I thought this should be handled with a little more shock value. And I know shock value is something that people don't always need in such movies because it's like, enough is enough. You don't need people to go, ah! But there is something to that element which requires it. But everything is played down so much in this movie, and so much of it just feels like they've removed certain aspects that will add to the character or what's going on. I felt that the movie just ended up being really empty as a result of it. It also resulted in very little characterization. Aside from a couple of things, you get to really know absolutely nothing about Michael Morbius. You know absolutely nothing about his assistant, played by Adria Arjona, and not really too much with Matt Smith either. Jared Harris shows up a couple of times with some scenes, and he says some things, and his role is very wasted. Same thing for Tyrese Gibson. Al Madrigal is honestly the only part of the movie where he felt like he was actually trying to just go along with the cheesiness of it, or at least trying to be fun in this movie, but it didn't really, again, add up to much. Like I said, every positive that I may have had for this movie, it's not really there after a while. It's like, yes, but, which is very unfortunate. But the thing that I found actually the most unfortunate about Morbius is the visual flair. This is not a very good looking movie. In fact, I'm putting it mildly. This is occasionally and frequently kind of ugly looking film. There are lots of special effects that feel so 2005, 2006-esque. Like there's a scene which genuinely reminded me of X-Men The Last Stand in how it looks visually, which was a much better movie visually speaking than whatever I saw in this. A dog just started barking. Even he wants me to be done with this review. I'm almost at the end, I promise. But really, the action sequences as a result of it are also incredibly murky and incredibly dark to look at. And I can sort of guess why. There's two reasons to this. Number one, they obviously wanted to go for a darker, edgier flair of film. Okay, sure. But also, I feel like it's the PG-13 of it all, because there are so many sequences where Morbius is tearing people apart and people are being torn apart in those sequences, and you would expect pools of blood. You don't see that. Like, there's a point where he slashes someone's neck, and I thought, oh, you can hear the gushing sound. You can hear that there's blood leaking onto the floor, and it's supposed to be a grotesque image. But you don't see any blood. You just see the guy going, ugh, and then he just falls. But you don't actually see any damage. Later, as the scene progresses, you see a moment where they show you something and you can see that there's blood marks, but it's in black and white, which kind of hides the red aspect of it. There's a point where Leto has to consume blood, but he has a substitute for it, and it's again supposed to be a grotesque image, but this looks blue. And the whole rule is that if your color pigment of blood is changed, you can get away with certain things. It's why something like Avengers Endgame, when Thanos gets his head chopped off and it's like, oh my god, that's a grotesque image. Everyone was like, okay, no problem. It's PG-13 still because it's purple blood. It really doesn't, sometimes I feel like there are these rules that are made, but it really hurts the movie as a result of it. And I made the criticism for PG-13 with Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, but I think this is the worst culprit is this movie. I mean, this is a literal vampire. Some of the kills felt like they were those weirdly censored kills in the first Twilight movie. I don't really know what happened here. This movie also has, and I'm not going to spoil anything here, it has two of the most baffling mid-credit scenes I've seen in a while. It tries to do something that I guess was supposed to get some kind of an audience response, but it does not work. It actually left most of the theater confused. In fact, it left all of the theater confused. There was not one audible reaction to any of it. Guys, at the end of the day, I didn't enjoy Morbius at all. It was a very lackluster experience in the theater. And again, if you did enjoy it, I am very happy for you. I am glad that you got something out of it. But I can't think of too many positives. Usually the things that I would enjoy in something like this, like the visual flair or the action or something like that, or even the score, which I thought was not so great this time, something I would find, but it's just sloppy. It's all just one sloppy mess. And for that reason, I'm gonna give Morbius a 4 out of 10. Breaks my heart to give it that rating. I was this close to giving it like a full F kind of thing, but just a few elements here and there. Like I said, honestly, Matt Smith saves this movie a little bit. There's a couple of scenes with him where he's just having so much fun, you can't help but enjoy those. But aside from that, it just didn't work for me. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did agree with it, cool. If not, totally cool. Respectable, safe space. You guys can talk about that in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of Morbius, in fact, down below. If you like this, as always, please hit subscribe. Thank you very much again. And I'll see you guys at the movies.